All right, guys, we are back. So, this is Student Loans Part 2. This is where we're going to talk about your children. And I mentioned this in the video previous. Not only this one, but the one about budget and finances. The first time your child hears about a budget should not be when you're sending them off to college or when they are graduating from college. It is a disservice because this is about life skills. So when I grew up, it was no, you need to learn how to cook, clean, manage your finances because those are life skill things. You are parenting to make sure this person is not forever dependent on you, that they are going to be an independent person that can operate in a global economy. For them not to understand the basics of budgeting, financing, how to cook, how to clean, you're doing them a disservice for themselves and to any person that's coming into their life. And you're setting them up for failure. So when I grew up, it was very common for my parents to say no to certain things, partly because they didn't have the extra funds. We didn't go without, but there was not enough extra. We understood, my parents went over the concept of what a budget was. Whenever we went grocery shopping, my mom had a list. There was a budget. This is how much that was budgeted for groceries for the week, for the month. We participated in those things because we understood how much everything cost. So that when she would send us, one of the things was if you wanted to drive the car, to get the privilege to drive the car, we had to do grocery shopping, and then we could get driving privileges. So my mom would give us a grocery list. Back in the day, before debit cards, she'd give us a check, and she was like, the groceries shouldn't cost more than this. I'm expecting, here's a list, this is what you get. So before we're even having a conversation about student loans, you should have already sat down, spoken to your child about what's happening with college. And I'm going to break this down. First generation, people who have a 529 plan, all this other stuff. If you are first generation in your family to go to college, it is not like when I went to college back in the day where in-state tuition would financial aid would cover your in-state and even most of the room and board. Now, with in-state tuition being anywhere from 20 to 30 or whatever a year, and private universities costing so much more, it is not in your best interest to go in debt for a bachelor's degree, which is almost the equivalent of a high school diploma. Particularly if you're trying to go and get your master's or your law school degree or your medical degree. You need to make sure that you are not going to have this debt, this indentured servitude of debt hanging closely around you that is going to impact whether or not you can buy a home or retire. And again, for my first generation college students, if no one's ever talked to you about a budget, if no one's ever explained to you about planning, there are resources out there for you. In the first video that I did, Rondaisms 2.0 and tax season, I tell you about free resources for financial advice, financial planning. A lot of youth organizations will have so many organizations do free things like Fidelity and other. They all have reach out and outreach for high school students, how to invest, how to do these type of things. And for my young people who are crypto and all this other stuff, start with the basics. You can't run before you walk. Understand the basics. You need a budget. You need all these things. So if you are first generation, colleges were a lot more transparent back then because they would tell you, based on our tuition, here's how much you're going to get, here's how much you're going to be in debt. And the job you're going to get after college is probably not going to be able to afford you to pay off all that debt. Have these conversations. So if you're first generation, you need to be sitting down with your college career counselor, counselor. If that person isn't good, go to the resources that I mentioned. Go to tax season 2025, that video. Use those resources. You do not want to be saddled with debt I talk about. This whole series is we are investing in ourselves so we can get a return on our investment, so that we can have a healthier, more fulfilling life. You're trying to build this generational wealth. You're trying to build a better you. You cannot do that if you don't take the time to, one, do your research. You don't start a business without doing your research and your planning. So as you're building a business plan for your life, particularly the financial piece, it is important that you take the time to find out what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know, and there's, okay, so now, whether or not someone has taken the time to explain or teach you those things, now it's up to you to make sure that when you're getting the student loan stuff and you're making college decisions, because now this, people should be getting, oh, you've been accepted. Woohoo! Here's the thing though. It's like, it doesn't matter if you've been accepted for a school that costs $50,000 a year or $90,000 a year when all they're offering you is $5,000. That's like giving you pennies. You can't afford it. So first generation, I know it's harder and it's a harder pill to swallow, but you have to be strategic, and you do not want to be saddled with debt that you may never be able to come from under. For my parents, did you have a 529 plan for your child? Are they aware of it? Do they know how it works? Do you already have other educational investments for your child? Your child, because I overheard, I had so many conversations where kids were like, well, this is where I want to go. And the parents were like, well, I just did it because they were so excited. I'm like, I'm sorry. And when your child turned 16, did you just, and they said they wanted a car, you were like, get anything you want. Let's go to the bank. There were probably some restrictions or parameters of, okay, here's the budget, da-da-da-da-da. Your child's first knowledge about the budget for college should not happen in the next few months when the decision letter comes in. The analogy I'll use is this. If you want to buy a house, first thing, what did I pre-qualify for? Understanding that pre-qualification is not the same thing as being pre-approved. Now, a college education is the cost of a starter home. A starter home. So just like you had to do your, am I pre-qualified, am I pre-approved, all this other stuff, that conversation is a conversation you need to sit down with your child. And you should be having conversations at a minimum freshman year in high school. Really should be before that. But okay, so this is what we've set aside. This is what your grades need to look like. Here's what we have set aside for you, depending on what school you go to, state U or private. If you don't get scholarships for XYZ, even if they accept you, that cannot happen. That conversation, and that needs to happen early on, so that your child isn't surprised by, I got into this place, I got into that place, but they didn't give me any scholarships, so I can't go. You need to prepare them in advance. I was traveling, and I stopped in some place for some food and stuff, and I was very happy because I overheard a group of college students. I was in a college neighborhood, and one girl was explaining why she was able to go where she went because of the 529 plan, and I was so happy because she also knew some of the different tricks, so how to switch to 529 plan so it's not just within the state and outside the state. Do your children know this? If you have a 529 plan, and this is again, have you talked to your financial advisor or counselor about, okay, once your kids are in high school, all right, 4 years, they're about to graduate and go off to college. Have we properly prepared for this? Like I said, these are conversations that should be happening quarterly, as things change, so that your children are not like, oh, we ain't got the money, or it's like, here's the thing. I grew up working class. So before we went into the grocery store or any store, the conversation in the car. Don't ask for nothing. You don't want nothing. You don't need nothing. Don't touch nothing. Can we go to McDonald's? Where your McDonald's money? Because the reality was there was a budget. And if you were allowed things, it's you got $1 to spend on candy or $2. And I tell you, I knew how to budget that $2 to make sure that candy lasted. You need to be having these conversations with your children. They should not be 18 years old and be like, I don't know what the budget is. Like, oh, I used up all of my meal plan money in the first 2 months. Well, good luck to you. I hope you know how to go to Aldi's and cook. So, parents and first generation students, you need to have the come to Jesus talk of, even if I get in this college, can I afford it? It's like we can all go and look on Zillow and be like, ooh, I love that $1 million house. I love that. Yes. But then when I look at my wallet, like, caviar taste, but Walmart budget, you got to make it work. So again, I've talked about, and I have a video from last year about the difference between federal and private loans. FAFSA changed last year, depending on what the new administration does with the Department of Education. God knows what FAFSA is going to look like in the future. You don't need to be caught by surprise. Sit down with your child. If they're in junior high, high school, no, sit them down. Sit them down. Come on, honey. Have they seen what the family budget is? If you like, I know everybody's doing Instacart and all that other stuff. Can they go to the grocery store and buy groceries and get enough for the family? Do they know what that looks like? These are life skills. This isn't, oh, my parents gave me too much responsibility as a child, so I'm giving my kids none. I'm not saying make your children work after school, summers, all this other stuff. However, a summer job for a month is not going to hurt them. It's going to teach them certain skills. They need to understand the value of a hard dollar. Do they know what FICA is? I always love it when the young people I mentored got that first check and they were like, they took my money. I'm like, who? FICA. Likewise, when it comes to these financial aid student loan things, have you sat down with your child? And this is like the first time this discussion happens should not be, all right, I got it accepted, I'm ready to go. And then you drop the, oh, we can't afford that. No, my parents, like I said, I'm first generation. My parents were like, okay, they hadn't been to college. A lot of it was please, like they were like, you need to talk to them college career people because we didn't go to college. We're not sure about this process. So I was told very early on, start having freshman year in high school, knock, college career counselor officer, let me know what scholarships. And every year. So my parents were very like, look, we can help you out a little, but a lot of this is new to us too. So my parents were upfront and honest about me, so I knew the work that I had to put in. Don't be waiting to the last minute to have these conversations with your kids. And again, this is about, we need to be intentional. And if we are trying to have our kids be in a better place than we were, it's not about not letting them experience bad things, because guess what? That is life. They need to experience the good, the bad, and the ugly. That is my motto for Rondaisms, because you cannot appreciate good stuff if you never known bad. If they've never known consequences, how can they understand things? Here's the analogy I give my friends. When your child is learning how to walk, you do not walk behind them with a pillow like, ooh. You cannot prevent them from falling. Actually, that's how they learn how to walk. However, we've gotten to the point right now where we're trying to ease the blow. I was like, the best time for them to fail is that 0 to 18. When you can help them navigate and fix it. After 18, they are legally an adult, and there are real consequences to this. So stop always trying to, put that cushion underneath them. Let them fail. But in failing, let them know that, hey, I got your back, we can work it out. But also give them the tools and the skill set to succeed. Failure is fine. My motto, failure is an option, and it's okay. Don't repeat the mistake. Learn from it. So your children should not be going into FAFSA season student loans unaware. Why would you do that to them? It's like sending them to battle with no armor. Prepare them. So, like I said, the video from last year talks about the difference in private loans versus student loans. I have tons of articles on the Rondaisms website to discuss the private and student loans. You need to don't. It's like finding out you have an illness, and that you need to change your diet. You need to do certain things. Maybe there's surgery required, and to pretend like the illness isn't there and you're just gonna hope it goes away means that what could have been fixable or had a higher prognosis of recovery now doesn't. So let's go in eyes open. Like I said, there are other videos, tons of articles. So please, when it comes to, and I'm looking down at my notes, when it comes to your children and finances and these student loans and what FAFSA is going to look like, you need to have conversations with them. One of the things I did to teach finances to my nieces and nephews, I noticed that when they were younger, I would say, give auntie a list of what you want for your birthday, for Christmas, and then I would pick 5 things off the list. And one time I was super busy with work and didn't have a chance to go get something, so I got my niece a gift card. Now, the list that she had given me was a rap sheet. She had a list long. And so I got her a gift card, and she went to the store, and that was, I think, when Toys R Us was still open. I got her Toys R Us gift card. She went to the store, she came back. She had nothing. She bought nothing that was on her list. And so I was like, sweetie, you didn't buy anything that was on the list. Auntie, that stuff was expensive. But I found out if I bought this and that, it was on sale, I could get more things. Oh, we know how to budget now. From then on, I always gave them gift cards because they now we know how to budget. Now, start teaching them at a young age the value, yes, here's your budget. So, go to the grocery store where my mom would send me and my sister. The thing that's eye level is probably going to be the most expensive thing. Look down. Look down, look up. Those other brands are probably going to be less expensive. That doesn't mean you have to get generic everything. But don't just be like, grab it and have that conversation with the nieces and nephews. We're going grocery shopping. I was like, okay, go get that. And they would just reach it. And I was like, honey, you might want to check the price on that, because if we do that, there is no extracurricular activities with the auntie for this weekend event. Don't have them go into the world ill-prepared. And that's not doom and gloom or scary. They're not going to forever be living with you unless you want them to. So prepare them. And then part 3 of this is the transition, getting them off the family teat, shall we say.